It was Christmas in the year 1768, and the grand halls of Baron von Altenburg's estate were alive with light and song. Snow lay thick over the sprawling gardens, and the fire in the great hearth cast golden flickers across the polished wood and gilded decorations. On the surface, everything seemed perfect, a portrait of wealth, elegance, and festive cheer. Guests and servants alike moved with grace and purpose, preparing the Christmas feast, while the Baron himself oversaw every detail with meticulous pride. But beneath the glittering veneer of celebration, there was a darkness that no amount of candlelight could mask. For that Christmas, Baron von Altenburg was to receive an unusual gift, a young enslaved woman, sent from the distant colonies as a token of favor and prestige. At first, it seemed a strange but innocuous addition to the household's roster of servants, another servant to be trained, another face in the grand estate. Yet the moment she entered the hall, the Baron froze. There was something hauntingly familiar in her features, the curve of her jaw, the depth of her eyes, the slight tilt of her head as she took in her surroundings. A memory long buried stirred in his mind, though he could not place it. Who was she? Why did her presence feel like a mirror reflecting a truth he had long tried to forget? The servants whispered nervously among themselves. They had been ordered to present the young woman with courtesy and to keep the Baron's holiday free of scandal, but even they sensed that this gift was different. There was tension in the air, unspoken yet palpable, as if the walls themselves held their breath. As the evening progressed, the Baron could not shake the sense of recognition. Something about her voice, a soft, trembling intonation when she spoke to the other servants, brought forth a cascade of memories. Faces from his childhood, rooms long abandoned, and a sister he had not seen in years came rushing back. And then it hit him with the force of a hammer. The enslaved woman was his sister, taken from the family in a time of chaos and lost to him through circumstances he had never fully understood. The revelation sent a chill through his bones. How could fate conspire so cruelly? The woman, for her part, was bewildered and frightened, unsure of the strange house or the powerful man who watched her so intently. She had been stolen from her home as a child, sold into servitude, and brought across seas to lands she did not know. Now, she stood before her own brother, though neither of them could have anticipated the horror that lay in the recognition. Days passed, each one heavier than the last. The Baron's mind became a battlefield of conflicting emotions, guilt, fascination, and a twisted assertion of power over a family member he should have protected. The woman, slowly piecing together the fragments of her past, began to suspect the truth herself. The servants noticed the tension and whispered behind closed doors, yet none dared intervene. They feared the Baron's wrath and the harsh consequences that might befall them should they speak. As Christmas turned to winter's deep nights, the estate became a cage. The halls, once filled with laughter and music, now echoed with silence, punctuated by the quiet sobs of the sister and the Baron's restless pacing. The oppressive weight of secrecy and obsession hung over every meal, every flickering candle, every cold, snow-covered courtyard. In the isolation of his private chambers, the Baron confronted the truth he had tried to ignore. History, blood, and power had converged in a cruel twist. What should have been a moment of reunion with a lost family member had instead become a nightmare of morality and desire. He was forced to question his own humanity, the greed that allowed him to accept a human being as property, the hubris that blinded him to the suffering around him, and the twisted irony that the person he held in bondage was his own flesh and blood. For the sister, the realization was devastating. Her life, already torn by displacement and suffering, was now compounded by the horror of family betrayal. Each glance from the Baron, each unspoken word, reminded her of her captivity and the unimaginable cruelty of the circumstances. Yet in her heart, there was a flicker of resistance, a determination that, however impossible it seemed, she would reclaim her freedom. The staff, though powerless to intervene directly, began to take small, subtle risks. A dropped utensil here, a whispered warning there, tiny acts that hinted at empathy and humanity in a household dominated by fear and authority. The tension in the house grew, and the festive season, once a time of celebration, became a constant reminder of cruelty and oppression. As weeks turned to months, The story of the Baron and his sister became a legend whispered among the servants, a tale of horror hidden behind the gilded walls of privilege. It was a story of obsession, betrayal, and the darkest.